What about my voice? Is it clear to you? Okay, so now we have to just copy from here. Yeah. Tell me the way. So what we have to do is just check this. Okay, well. Now, what we have to do is, as you can see, this topology. As for topology, these all are the implementation one by one, the step that we are going to be follow in order of doing the configuration. Okay, so the first thing that we have to configure, just to make the understanding first about the all kind of devices, how many routers, how many switches are there, which kind of switch in that, and the number of PCs, the is there inter-VLAN routing or not, the router on the switch or any kind of configuration that makes sense for in this scenario, is it working or not. So there's fewer things that we have to make sure, and then we can proceed the whole thing, which is going to be work very well. Okay, before doing the configuration on the real hands-on, it means that if whatever we are going to do, that's inside there. That's a whole thing we can do virtually before doing anything, the real configuration to it in and every device. So what we have to do initially, first we are going to set the each and every in devices like the PC1, PC2, PC3, 4, 5, and 6, whatever the PCs are right here. So once we have done this all, then we can proceed with the access port on the switches, because in devices are connected to the switches. So then we have to proceed to the switches configuration. In the switches, there's a mode that we call the access mode, the trunking mode. These are the requirement as per need that we do. So in switches, we have to do configuration to make connectivity to in devices like the PCs or printer, whatever the in devices are. We have to do configuration to it. Before the each and every configuration, that possible configuration that we can do, we can provide to the in devices like PC1, PC2, and PC3 and PC4, all are there, right? We have to give it the IP address of each and every device, of each and every gateways as per their VLAN. If there is a VLAN and are divided, there is a VLAN creation has been done. So we have to do consider about that too, and according to that, we have to give it the IP addresses. Okay. Once we have done with the IP addresses, then we have to think about what would be the gateways for that, because the one single gateway which is going to be work for each and every device in this network. So for that reason, we have to set the gateways of that. Once we have done the PCs, the IP give this configuration, then we can proceed with the switch. Okay, so on switch we have to do configuration to make connectivity to the in devices like the PCs. Okay, so in switches we have to do configuration, switch port mode, access, because this is the access mode. We are going to connect, we are going to provide the access to the in devices of switches. Okay, so for that reason the configuration that we are going to give it to this, so that would be configuration for this one, switch port mode access. Okay, so if there is a F03 and F04, so we have to go and we have to go in global configuration mode. And let me just clear about this all and every mode that we call the global configuration mode. Before that, there is this user exact mode, then privilege exact mode, then we call the global configuration mode. In order of doing that, we have to go in global configuration mode. Then we have to call the interface configuration, because we are doing the interface configuration which are given over here like F03 and F04, which is quite sequential, right? Which is in a sequence like 3 and 4. So we can go with the range command F03 and F04 right here. In the same way, whenever we have need to do configuration like this, whatever the devices are, like the in devices and in case of access ports. So there's a F02, F03, F04, F05 right here. Okay, as percent we are going to be continue for each and every devices. That same configuration we are going to be do with the range command. We will going to be do the configuration first in the interfaces. Once we are get in the interface configuration, then we call the switch port mode access. Then we switch port access, which VLAN we are going to assign to it. So by default, as we know, if there is nothing about the VLAN, so by default the VLAN 1 that will going to be contain this whole pieces, the whole in devices, IP addresses. Okay, there's no separation about the in devices. So we have to go the by default the VLAN 1 or VLAN 2, whatever the VLAN. By default the VLAN 1 that you will see always, right? Okay. So the next thing would be okay, once it's done, let me just clear about why we do description, why we put the description, right? So whenever we do interface based configuration, so at that moment we have to make sure the description is essential. Okay, whenever you will going to whenever you will do in future the configuration which are required sometimes when you do troubleshooting. So at that moment you have need of that, right? So it will going to facilitate your configuration strategy, right? So whatever you are going to be do, that will going to be help you. The description will help you to do the whole thing that you are looking for, right? Okay, well, okay. So here's the thing about the each and every CLI based or iOS CLI. Like iOS CLI mean that the switches and routers, they're all working on the basis of CLIs. The configuration that we do, which are quite similar to it. So that's the same thing that we are going to be continue, and that's first thing that we have to do in order of doing the configuration. That is the hygiene. The hygiene we have to do each and every switch, whatever the switches are, the Catalyst 2960, 3940. There's several, right? But the Catalyst would be the best one I recommend. 2960 would be the better one, as I mentioned, as I have given over here. Okay, so in that, first we have to do the, as I told, the hygiene part. So in hygiene, what we consider, the first thing in hygiene, we have to change the host name. The host name, it means that the rename, we have to do the rename of each and every device, right? On switches and routers, there is a switch one is given over here and in name. So we have to go inside there and we have to change the name that we call the post configuration, right? Once we have done this all, so then we have to proceed in order of security stuff. The security that we have to provide is essential whenever we do configuration as per our requirement or something that are okay. Just hold a minute. Okay, well, now we can continue. Okay, so it's quite essential when we talk about when we have the need of this kind of thing. So in somehow, in some cases, we have to just make sure what really thing is happening. So in order of securing the whole thing, it means that the one single security that you are going to apply that will work for each and every prospect. Okay, your perspective of you can say the all aspect or which is going to be covered in a case of encrypting the one single way or to all simple text or to encrypted or secure text, right? In that you are going to secure the whole configuration security, which is based on password that you can do by that's a command is service password hyphen encryption. This is a simple thing that you can apply for encrypt the simple text to encrypted type 7 encryption that we're going to apply over here. Okay, it's not easy to encrypt. That's you usually say the secret password encryption, that the secret password that you do use that's possible to encrypt. But in these cases, when you type the service password hyphen encryption command, you will go with that. And definitely that will not going to be bothers you. Okay. Okay.